Welcome back, everybody. One thing to let you know is that the presentations from today will all be available to download from our website at khl.com. If you have a look on there in the next couple of weeks, they should all be available. Now to our next speaker, Frank Bardonaro, Chief Operating Officer, Maxim Crane. He's more than 25 years' experience in the industry, and he's worked both for crane manufacturers and rental companies. Frank will touch on some of the same crane rental topics that Christian Kalupny did, but from a different perspective. He'll also describe Maxim's work on a big job in Miami, the Brickell City Centre project. Please give a warm welcome to Frank Bardonaro.
Thanks, Alex. Thank you. Got it on? It's good? Well, I hope everyone's getting back in here after lunch. You want me to go ahead and start, and they'll trickle in. As Alex said, I'm going to be talking about a lot of the same things that Christian did, a little bit different perspective. We would talk about hurricanes, but as you guys know, that was a bad topic last year. So how many attorneys are in the room right now? All right, because they've all called me and told me I'm not allowed to use that word again. So with that, we'll get started. It's funny but true. You know, it's hard to follow Christian and Billy and the team because all those topics are so important to us, but I don't think you can talk about them enough. And the perspective, I agree with everything that Christian said, except for I don't think anybody else should ever buy another tower crane. We should just keep renting the ones we have. So, in all seriousness, this deja vu all over again. If you read the headlines here, you know, the tower crane industry, as Christian said, we are at peak levels again. We're back to where we were back in 2008. Rental rates are coming back up. Manufacturers have waiting times. Everything that he talked about is spot on. And everybody can see it, whether you land in Miami, whether you land in Boston, whether you go to Nashville. Everybody's busy right now. And of those 2,000 cranes he's talking about, if you think about it, that's only 40 cranes per state, and as the FAA guy said, 20% of them are down here. So every crane that's available is working today, which is great for the industry. And if you read this Sunny Skies, that was an actual headline in KHL magazine. Sunny Skies, all the cranes are booming. Capco and Amquip partners, Biggie's buying cranes, Morrow's adding fleets, just like everybody said. The problem with that headline, it was May 7th of 2008. So we were all saying the same things we're saying today back in May of 2008. And I'm not a doom and gloom guy. I 100% agree that we have a 24 to 36 month backlog. We know work is out there. I call it a rolling backlog right now. Everything that we see month after month gives us another 24 months. Our quoting activity is higher than ever. Things are great. We're all heading in the right direction. But a guy on at Goldman Sachs conference last night said, the expectations of the next recession is frightening because there are no stabilizers in place. Well, we just all have to be aware, and part of what I'm going to talk about is what to consider as positive, sustainable growth versus just jumping in when the water's warm. So everything that I just talked about has happened before. We all know that we have cycles. We all know that it's 10-year, 8-year, 12-year, however you want to break it down. It changes a little bit. But tower cranes in particular have a cycle. And when I look at today's headlines, we placed orders for towers, Biggie, Bio, Sims. Everybody that has cranes today has customers that need cranes, and they're telling us to buy more. So we have to meet our customers' needs. We don't have enough cranes to supply everyone that needs them right now. But the problem that we're getting is we're paying almost twice as much today for a tower crane as we did in 2006 and 2005. So what do we need to consider? What do we need to look at? What do we need to determine before we all go out and buy new tower cranes? I saw Christian said he wants a 3% ROI on his returns. We want more. We want 4 because if you take a look at that 40-year asset or 30-year asset, if you average it over 10 years, the utilization rate, it's 50% utilized on average. So a 4% today is a 2% in the life of the machine. That's how we look at it. Everybody looks at it different, but I'm telling you that's what we look at. And what do we need to look at? We got to find out, how do the OEMs play in our market space? I mean, they keep raising the prices, but like Christian said, the rental rates just for the equipment don't cover the increase in cost. And all we keep talking about is what a tower crane rents for. What does the tower crane cost today? Well, you don't buy a tower crane. You got to buy trucks. You got to buy trailers. You got to hire mechanics. You got to train technicians. Everything's part of that, and all those costs are more than twice as much as they were back in 2006. So even though we're seeing extreme increase in utilization and we're seeing double the cost in labor, double the cost in cranes, trucking, everybody knows there's a trucking crisis today. Billy and the guys talked about GL claims and legal fees. Everything keeps costing all of us in the tower crane and the crane rental business more money, but we are not passing that through to our customers and our contractors. I was trying to think about, somebody, I think Christian again mentioned that the contractors are creative in their back charges. And if you think back, Morrow was the only tower crane guy around when I was a kid, and we rented from them. And the contractors, the builders, we would bid lump sum jobs as a contractor. And when you bid a lump sum job, then you put in terms for change orders and you put in terms to get more money. And as the owner of the project or the contractor who also owned the cranes, we always had a way to bill more on the job site. Well, as things evolved and the contractors then began renting cranes instead of owning them, it seems to me like that business model of the contractor being able to charge a client more for change orders used to be offset by the owner back charging the contractor for everything he could. So if the owner's crane was down, let's say I gave him a $100,000 back charge at the end of the job, a change order, and they found 20 rain days or something that didn't work, it all offset. Well, now those same contractors who mastered the art of change orders and back charges are renting from all of us. So they still have mastered the art of back charges and looking for downtime and ways to get back money from the crane guy, but we have no way to get more money. We are done. We get one shot. We give them a monthly rental rate and maybe some labor rates. It doesn't go up from there. It just doesn't. It goes down. It never goes up. It can go down. And what can we do to prevent that from going down more? We heard it today in contracts. We heard it in T's and C's. We've got great competition out there. Everybody's a good competitor. Everybody wants to make money. But look, I'm the first offender. If somebody says, if you go to this price, you get the job, we all want to work. It's okay to go after rate. We can't go after terms and conditions. We can't give in on that stuff. Even though we mentioned OSIP jobs, we mentioned bare rental jobs, I can tell you that the debacles that we're going through right now from last year in a hurricane, they were bare rentals, they were act of gods, and no matter what you do, they will find a way to sue someone. They may not win, but they're going to sue you. So just make sure we get all of our T's and C's in the right place. When I talk about T's and C's and I talk about rental rates, how many of you guys, we heard some of these other terms, we don't get paid on time. None of us get paid on time. I heard there was less speculative building today and better finance projects. Well, yeah, because we're financing half the project. The cranes, we're paying our labor, we're paying our trucking, we're paying for the cranes, but we're getting paid in 30, 60, 90 days. And I just tore a contract up last week where it had a term in there, paid if paid. Not pay when paid, paid if paid. I said, dude, if I can build a house and live in it, can I pay you if I get a raise? Because there's no logic behind some of these terms and conditions these guys put in. So we just all have to be aligned. It's not about an advantage in the market. It's not about being a competitive advantage between rental companies. Just do what's right, and the contractors have to be partners with us. And we all have some really good contracting partners. We have, I see a couple in here today. We've worked out agreements with. I got like a Zachary. These guys are in here today. They're not looking to be onerous. They're not looking to win. They're trying to have a win-win situation. We're doing the same thing with some of the other guys in here where you're developing contracts, you're negotiating contracts. It takes a long time, but everybody's putting in things that work for both parties. That's what we want to do. And as we talk about what it takes to buy more cranes and what we want to look at, again, I don't want to focus on today. We love where we're at today. That's the biggest crowd I've ever seen in a tower crane show because the market's good. We have labor unions here. We have manufacturers here. We have everybody that needs to be here is here today. But for the people buying and building these cranes, remember, we've seen it before. I'm not Debbie Downer, but just be guardedly optimistic about what we're buying and make sure that you're able to justify the return on investment over a 10-year period, not a 2-year period. I mean, the oldest guy in this room is probably Dennis Bates in tower cranes. I mean, I think he invented the towers. And as good as the markets are today, Dennis, you've seen this 4 times maybe. So again, guys, ladies and gentlemen, please remember it's awesome when it's awesome, but it's really bad when it's really bad. What we want to do is we want to look at changing the paradigm. We want to take a look at how we can make more money in the good times that carry you through in the tougher times. Because a tower crane, unlike a 100-ton crawler crane, if it's not working today and that job it was on gets done, I can move it and I can hang steel, I can drive poly. I can do a lot with different types of cranes. A tower crane is a flagpole when it's not, up and working. So we got to find ways to make money when it is the most highly utilized, like it is today. And part of that is to understand that it's not what you get in the height of the market, it's what you get over a 10-year run. And that's what we're working on. One of the biggest things I like to talk about is our labor rates. And I know we keep talking about the cost of cranes and rental rates, but the biggest problem we have today is skilled labor. There aren't enough. Somebody asked a question today, how do you train your crane operators? Every crane operator that can run a crane today is working. I mean, even when you have locals that allow 2 people on a crane, an operator and oiler in union markets where you can train the oiler, half the time we're pulling oilers off to go learn to run another crane because there aren't enough operators out there to run towers. And when we look at our cost for the crane is one thing, let's talk about what it takes to get an operator trained and qualified. I think there are sign-on bonuses for operators in many cities right now. I know there are in New York. I think there's a lot of opportunity for us as a rental company to start getting paid what that person is worth in the market, not just covering our cost. We did a lot of analysis, too much analysis now that we're owned by a private equity firm, obviously, and these guys want to see every type of ROI there is, and it's down to the last dollar. And when you find out that your cost of labor is going through at X plus 10%, 12%, then you remember, well, I got to have 1 mechanic for every 8 tower cranes or whatever your model is. How are you covering that? Well, you're covering that from the crane rental. Well, how are you covering the rain day for the operator? $75 an hour is not enough money. When you look at what we were compared against, I was pulling up some ads before this thing. Dog groomers. I got a little puppy. These guys make more money per hour than we do charging for crane operators who are sitting 600 feet in the air. I mean, my dog groomer is driving nicer cars than we are, and he doesn't have to buy trucks and trailers and computers. I mean, figure it out. I mean, every type of comparison I did, jet ski rentals, these are real ads. These are in very low-cost markets where a guy has a toolbox underneath a shade tree, and they're getting this for the same rate I'm charging for a crane operator 600 feet in the air. Doesn't make any sense, folks. Lawnmower repairs. The good one is, the auto shops have their fixed rates. Everybody's getting more per hour, and especially the massage parlors. I mean, how does that work? They got a table, okay? So nobody's dying. Nobody's dying. So, all I'm saying is we have more invested. You think about the fighter pilots and you think about the Air Force, and I've always felt that a crane is like a fighter pilot. The operator has someone's life in their hands. The technology's got to be safe, and we charge for it like it's a dog groomer. It doesn't make sense, folks. So I'll tell you right now, our initiatives are to try to get paid a rate that makes sense for growing the business and training people, adding people, and having not only our operators make a good living, but be able to have sustainable growth by hiring and training more people. So that's what we're trying to work on. And it's all about the risk and the reward. You know, everybody knows it. We see it. You're driving down the highway and you see a crane in the air and everything is working, as we heard earlier. You guys, this is common sense. We're in highly populated cities. We're in areas where something, if it falls, is going to hit something else. You're not just sitting a hot tub on a deck. This is very complicated work. It's very intense. It takes engineering. I see engineers in here. I see, a lot of very intelligent people go into making these products safe. And as the crane rental companies, we're not using the same intelligence to get the type of return that should go with the risk and investments that you need to sustain the tower crane business over a 20-year life. The asset's worth 40 years. I think we all know that, but we quote it like it's something that is a one-shot wonder, and we don't try to build in the cost of future expensive equipment and training. We've got to get more money for what we do. When I think about the back charges, I don't know how to get around it because we always negotiate it out of every one of our contracts. We never accept it until you accept it. So after the job, and the guy says, well, I'm going to back charge you. I was down for 4 hours one day. They just short pay you. I mean, that's what they do. None of us want to agree to it. If there's legitimate downtime caused by mechanical failure or poor service, we work with our customers. We do it. But just because something breaks, I mean, how many people in this room had at least a 30-minute delay at some point of their flight on their way down here? I was an hour and a half. Look at these hands. Okay, half the room had to wait for their flight. Did anybody here get a discount on their ticket? Did anybody here get a free soda? We get nothing from an airline, whether you wait a day or 2 days. We literally have every type of business out there does it different than we do, and we just keep accepting it. I mean, at some point, I guess Maxim will be the bad guy because we don't want to keep accepting it. So we'll work with our customers. We want to help grow the relationships, but I keep going to, because Sammy gave me permission to mention Zachary, a partnership is what you need when you go on these long-term jobs. Not a rental, a partnership. We are in it from start to finish with the customers, and if you build that relationship up and you understand what they need and they understand what you need and you can work through the problems, that's how we'll all get profitable, sustainable growth. But to low bid and then to let contractors just say, take it or leave it, is not how we're going to be in this room through the downturns in the cycle. So with that, full disclosure, I had to change my presentation in the last week because of some of these lawyers here in the room. But so now this is called filler time. So I will tell you that it's cool coming into Miami and seeing all these tower cranes. I mean, I see too many yellow ones. I'm sorry, Peter, I liked it better when they were blue and red, but it's great to actually have this room when you think about what helps us as a contractor, a rental company, and you guys as contractors that are out there. It is being able to pick up the phone and call up, Peter at Morrow and say, hey, do you have this component? Or hey, can you help with this? Or to call up another competitor and say, hey, I need a hand for a technician. I need service. I'm down. When we work together as an industry, we can compete, guys. We'll all compete to get a job, but you really need all of us in this room to continue working together, because being on an island is not a way to grow, and it's not a way to work together for the long run. So we appreciate all the help that everybody in this room gives us and all the support that the sponsors have done, because part of our success at Maxim and our customers' relationship is because of all the people here working together and talking together. And when I get to some of the challenges that we had down at Brickell City Center, a job that we did get from you, Peter, by the way, I get one. You got everyone else. So this was a great example of how we should get paid for what we do. There were 11 tower cranes on 5 buildings, 3 city blocks. Every FAA type of issue was there. The coordination efforts were there. the engineering was, I mean, I think we had 40 decks of every crane, changes along the way. It was a really, really important project for Maxim Crane at the time. We never had, so many cranes on one project that had so much coordination with so many different project managers and owners to do it safely and successfully and profitably for everyone. It was a job that from our salesperson starting the quoting process to our engineers working on the layouts to the manufacturers giving us things we need, all the local officials. I heard the FAA say that they used to hold up the crane permit for the building permit. Well, by the way, I think if you give us the crane permit and we get to start charging rent first, your building guys will start cooperating faster. So give us our crane permit first. But everybody was part of this success at Brickell, and the projects you see in Miami today, everybody from our competitors to our customers and everyone is working very hard together to ensure that there is a safe project, most importantly, and that there is ability for everybody to make money and go on to the next job. So, I want to thank everybody here for the time. Sorry I couldn't talk about the topic I wanted to, but I promise you when that is over, I will request to give you guys a summary of best practices and all seriousness of what happened, what could have been done differently, but I can't right now. So again, I'm a little early. Help us get back on track, and thank everybody for their time.